We are once again navigating choppy waters. If you remember 2 years ago, the title of the conference was Navigating the Choppy Waters. They have not become any calmer in the meantime. So the theme of this year's edition, Growth and Resilience in the CESEE in a more fragmented world, is unfortunately a reality. In fact, it echoes the discussions we've had across several years of this conference. Back in 2017, we discussed the challenge of economic convergence and how investment, productivity, and demographic trends could help CESEE countries close the gap with the rest of Europe. Then in 2019, we tackled labor market pressures and demographic headwinds, threatening to stall the convergence. And in 2023-21, we skipped because of the COVID. Alfred, that's the missing conference. We explored how the region could foster resilience in the face of energy insecurity. There was a lot about energy last time, post-COVID supply chain shifts and frequent supply shocks. All of these themes, energy, labor markets, productivity, trade patterns, converge again today in the face of a new and more complex reality, a fragmented world. For the last 3 decades, the countries of Central Eastern and Southeastern Europe have advanced on a clear convergent path built on openness, foreign investment, trade, and rising productivity. As a result, millions of people saw significant improvements in their living standards since 1990 until today. It was a great success and a still great success story. But today, the world around us is changing fast. We are seeing growing economic fragmentation, rising protectionism, and intensified geopolitical competition. For countries of our region, whose growth models have relied heavily on integration into global and European production networks, this shift presents a real challenge. To better understand how to adapt to these challenges, we should look not only outward but also back. Back to this very city of Dubrovnik. Because long before modern supply chains and trade arrangements, the small city-state of Dubrovnik navigated a fragmented multipolar world, and it was very successful at doing it. The Republic of Dubrovnik, or Ragusa at that time, was nestled between 2 great powers, Venice to the west and the Ottomans to the east. It had neither great armies nor large territories, but it had strategy, diplomacy, and economic sophistication. Dubrovnik flourished not by trying to dominate, but by connecting. It signed a series of treaties with both Christian and Muslim states, guaranteeing safe, tax-advantaged trade and ensuring its merchants had access to markets across the whole Mediterranean. The Republic's strategy was to create an environment that was stable and attractive to foreign traders while carefully protecting its own merchants' interests. The people of Dubrovnik understood that trade was not merely a matter of profit, but also of ethics, reputation, predictability, and long-term planning. One of Dubrovnik's most remarkable thinkers from the 15th century, Benedict Kotruljević or Benedetto Cotrugli, in his book On Trade and the Perfect Merchant, wrote, "Even though trade is full of change and uncertainty, it still follows certain noble rules, both general and specific, which every merchant must understand." This suggests that the merchant of that era was seen as a proponent of trust and stability, someone whose success depended on following principles that benefited not just themselves, but the society as a whole. So even back then, Dubrovnik understood that trade is not a zero-sum game, but a win-win dynamic that raises prosperity of all sides through cooperation, not through confrontation. And while Dubrovnik's economic model was based on trade, its leaders wisely balanced openness, with strategic autonomy, what we call today strategic autonomy. They understood the value of smart tariffs and customs policy. We walked past by the customs house, which was the most important commercial building at that time. Then they set low enough tariffs to stay competitive and keep trade flowing, but calibrated to protect the city's autonomy and to fund public needs, among others the water supply that was coming from those times, from the hill which we visited yesterday. They also invested strategically in shipbuilding, offering targeted subsidies to support a sector vital to their maritime strength. This wasn't industrial policy for its own sake, but in service of a broader national strategy, ensuring competitiveness and autonomy in providing top-notch transport services for merchants and the trade partners. Not every intervention was a success. For example, Dubrovnik tried to support local textile production, but it never matched the scale or quality of foreign competitors, so in the end had to be shut down. The lesson was clear even then. Successful industrial policy needs to align with long-term comparative advantage. Equally instructive is Dubrovnik's approach to resilience, the topic of our conference. The city was much aware of the risks of war, siege, and famine. So in the 16th century, it invested in underground grain silos, which were carved into solid rock. These silos, called rupe, or holes, could store enough supplies to feed the population for a full year. They still exist today, so if you go in whoever stays here, on Saturday can go to Dubrovnik Ethnographic Museum, where you can see the deep silos through the openings in the floor. These reserves weren't just practical, they were also strategic. They reduced dependency on external supplies and gave Dubrovnik the confidence and autonomy to negotiate from a position of strength, even in a crisis times. The lessons from Dubrovnik about balancing openness with protection, ambition with caution, and integration with strategic autonomy remain, I think, deeply relevant today. Like Dubrovnik, our region must navigate between powerful blocks and shifting alliances. It must adapt its growth model to more uncertain, fragmented world. What does this mean in practice? It means recognizing that the reshaping of global value chains and the reindustrialization in Europe will not happen evenly. The CESEE region must actively define its role within the EU and beyond to ensure that it is not sidelined in the process of changes. It means accelerating digital transformation, advancing institutional reforms, and investing in the skills and capabilities needed to compete in high-value sectors. It also means strengthening the region's ability to withstand shocks, from diversifying energy sources and modernizing infrastructure to building strategic reserves and ensuring robust public institutions. And while not all CESEE countries are EU members, all have a stake in the future of Europe's economic architecture. A more complete and functional single market would bring benefit to the entire region, not only by deepening access for member states, but by creating more predictable rule-based conditions for those outside of the EU as well. In short, the region's future will depend not only on national choices, but on regional cooperation and strategic alignment. The story of Dubrovnik reminds us that small actors can shape their destinies in big ways if they are ambitious, adaptable, and open to cooperation. To follow Valdi's example, I'll close with the Latin proverb, historia est magistra vitae. Indeed, in many ways, Dubrovnik's success story mirrors the choices we face today. Dubrovnik showed centuries ago, and as our region has shown in recent decades, that resilience is not the absence of risk, but the ability to navigate the risks in a wise way. This conference is our opportunity to channel that spirit, to connect past lessons with future goals, and to ensure that cooperation and resilience, which have served us so well in the past, go hand in hand even in a new, more fractured world. So with that, I will close and leave the floor to my co-host, Kristalina. Please, Kristalina.